streams, checking the microphone. Everything seems to be going well. There we go. Alright, and we're live. Presumably we have sound because my little meter is bouncing up and down when I speak into my microphone. Hey, good morning. It is 8:01 a.m. on Tuesday, the 25th of February, 2025. That is 0225 2025. 0225 2025. All my numerology peeps out there gonna be happy about that. I'm not a numerology peep, but I do like patterns. It's one of the things that probably drew me to programming in the first place. Figuring out patterns, seeing things, making connections, using those to find solutions, seeing problems in systems, all those things probably contributed to me being interested in programming. It wasn't exactly how I started out. When I came out of high school, I had other ideas. I wanted to write. I was writing a bunch of things. And then I started to do volunteer work at a community theater and got really into technical theater, hanging lights, managing the stage, building props. I've always been somebody who likes to put things together with their hands. And then I moved to Austin and I got into video production. So I used the skills that I had picked up in theater about lighting, brought those to the video world, and did that for a couple of years. And then got myself a job teaching video at the first media lab in Austin, Texas. And right at the time, a couple of years before the internet was supposed to blow up. And by the time the internet blew up, I was managing that media lab. The first one in Austin. It was created and run by the guy who started South by Southwest Interactive, one of the largest tech conferences on the planet today, which happens to be in my hometown of Austin, Texas. And so we were off to the races right at the beginning of that stuff. I've been working as a web developer for just about 30 years. And before that, I worked for several years as software developer. Throughout it all, I've kind of taught. I bounce between kind of instruction and production work. And right now, I'm kind of on the instruction side. I manage a coding boot camp. I help people. I have traditionally helped people get into the industry. Now we are pivoting our business, and we're also including upskilling. So people who are already working, already have a job, maybe they got laid off recently, and are looking to add some more skills to make them more valuable to employers, and they come to our mentorship program. And we help them build portfolios, fine-tune the way that they present themselves in the job search, and help them learn new skills along the way. So that's my day job, which doesn't start until this stream ends. And the stream I created just so that people like our students who are trying to get a job in tech would have a place to check in Monday through Fridays, a place to hang out while they get those job applications out. So that's what the stream is all about. If you know anybody in tech who is in the job search and maybe their motivation is waning a little bit, maybe they need a little accountability in their job search, spread the word, let them know. We stream on Twitch LinkedIn and YouTube every day. Again, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Normal rates do apply if you live in other time zones. So, what do I do on the chat? I go and look at the job numbers. I check them every day. We'll review those, and then we'll talk a little tech. That is always the game plan. The game plan is review the numbers, check out the news and tech. It's important for us to stay on top of what's going on in our industry. And 10 years ago, there was a lot going on in their industry. That's nothing compared to what we have now. I mean, it is just fast and furious. If you don't follow Matt Wolf on YouTube to stay abreast of what's going on in the AI world, you are missing out. Every week, he does a 30 to 50-minute recap of all the AI news that went on in the week, and several videos during the week about it. And it's hard to keep up with. There's so much stuff out there. But that's the direction everything's heading in. So we need to stay on top of it. We need to learn new skills to stay valuable, to future-proof our career. These are the things that we need to know. And the way to know that is not to put your head in the sand and think, oh, because I got a job right now, it's going to be around forever. We know from all these layoffs for the last 2 years that that is not promised to us. But what is promised is when we get a job working for a company, if that company's been around more than 6 months, they're using old tech. They invest a lot of money to build a machine that makes money, and they built it on old tech, and it's still making them money, and they need somebody to manage and update that old tech right now. But becoming an expert in their system helps you get paid today, but it shortchanges you tomorrow if you get laid off, because now you got a bunch of old tech on your resume, and if somebody's hiring for the latest skills, you might be lacking there. You might be struggling a little bit. So keep an eye on where the puck is going, and we do that by checking out the news. Having said all of that, checking the job data, checking the news is the game plan. The game plan is always ready to be thrown out the window if you got a good question. At the end of the day, I want to provide value. That value comes from my experience. That experience comes from 30 plus years of working as a contractor, working for large Fortune 500 companies, a lot of small and medium-sized companies. I've worked for defense contractors. I've worked for nonprofits. I've had 4 of my own startups, so a lot of variety in my experience, and maybe a thing or two I might be able to share along those lines. So if you have any questions along those lines, what it's like working tech, what are some tips about getting that job, throw them in the chat. Happy to go over them. All right, let's jump into the numbers. It is these numbers are based on entry-level JavaScript positions, because that's for the last 10 years have been primarily our audience. So 3 years ago almost, I started tracking these numbers just to kind of see what the trends were like in our industry. But as it turns out, JavaScript is the language of the web. The backend could be JavaScript, could be a lot of other things. But if you have a web application, it's got a front end that uses JavaScript. So watching what's going on in the JavaScript world is a good indicator of what's going on in the greater web world. Not necessarily in the greater software world. And I do want to sort of solve it for that problem to get an eyeball into the traditional software development world, but currently I'm just tracking these JavaScript numbers. So what does it say? In the last 7 days, we have a slight downturn. but it's mainly flat. It's kind of margin of error sort of numbers. In the last 6 months, we got a nice leisurely uptick in our data, and then the last year it's been mostly flat. A little bit of a downturn, but primarily it's been flat. We've talked a lot on this channel about why these ebbs and flows happen and what's going on in the greater tech world and the greater business world that could be headwinds for us going into this new year. We had a great tailwind coming out of last year, post-election. We saw a nice bump in the traffic and in terms of the job postings, but everything is kind of stalled out now that we got a new sheriff in town who's signing lots of pieces of paper, which is causing a lot of uncertainty in the market. If you look at the last 6 months, the election right about here, and then all of a sudden businesses got very excited about hiring people again. Oh, it's going to be a very business friendly administration. So we saw going into the holidays, which we normally see a bit of a dip, because it's hard to get people together to do interviews and that kind of stuff. We saw a nice little rocket ship taking off into the first week or so of January, and what is that? Doesn't tell me. About the first week of January, and then the inauguration happened, and with it comes a whole bunch of Is this what we signed up for? A whole bunch of is this what we signed up for? What you gonna do? Oh, that's not it. I do get a little more granular in the way that I slice up the data. And again, it's been flat for the last 5 weeks. There's some up and down there. It's up on the upswing over here. So hopefully, at some time, I think business is just going to be tired of all this uncertainty, and they're going to have to, make a stand. Like, oh, we just kind of invest. Like, yeah, the administration is kind of a wild card, but at some point, let's get back to making money. And making money involves hiring people. It just does. You need people to execute your plan. You need people to plan. You need people to innovate. And that's what 2025 was going to be about. Let's hope it stays on that track. That we're going to be hiring more people, growing businesses in the age of AI. Yeah, it's a bit of a struggle these days, but we are going to persevere because that's the thing we can control. What can we control? Can we control the new administration? Nope. Can we control all those executives signing things that he's doing? Nope. Can't control that. Can we control the interest rate? Nope. Can't control that. What can we control? Getting up in the morning, getting a little caffeinated beverage in us, and checking those job names, getting out the most freshest job postings, getting that information out, up and down, ready to go. If you haven't already, if you're new to being unemployed, or if you're new to trying to break into a new industry, the first thing you need to do is get organized about where all your information is, where your resume is, get all your links to social media, to LinkedIn, to a bunch of different stuff, because all these job boards ask for these kind of things. And if you haven't signed up on all the job boards, that takes time. It just takes time to get all that information in there. Oftentimes they'll have a thing, upload your PDF resume and we'll convert it and it'll save you time. And most of the time it's all kind of janky and messed up. And you got to do a lot of manual input stuff there. And so, you know, there's no time like the present to start the job search. If you're thinking, I got a little time, I got some severance, my package, I got some time to figure this stuff out. I'll just work my little network and maybe I'll bump into something and it'll all work out. Maybe you're going to do that. You're going to do that anyway. But in the meantime, spend a couple hours getting all of your job search stuff up and running on all these platforms. Because once it's there, then you get up in the morning like this, it's pretty easy to submit your stuff for a new job. And that's the low-hanging fruit. We always want to hit that low-hanging fruit first. It's a bit of a numbers game, and as a result, you want to get that low-hanging fruit, and then spend a little extra time every day doing the harder ones, searching for companies and going to company websites, reaching out to your network, checking little niche job boards, like job boards for startups, job boards for different demographics, job boards for different industries, right? Then you want to kind of look those up and down and get some stuff out there too. We just want to be consistently controlling those things we can control, which is getting out job applications, waking up early, getting the freshest job postings, and getting your information in there and staying at the top of the stack. That's what we want to do. All right. Again, I get all that information from Indeed because it has the ability to filter this data, filter the search, and it represents 15 to 20% of all the job postings on the market. So it is a statistically significant set of numbers which we can use to pull trends for the industry. Check it out. But use that last 24 hours. That's the most important filter. If you really want to have I saw that South by Southwest, and it reminded me, I wanted to plug my little side project that I've been working on, and it is a map and timeline of all of the events going on at South by Southwest, which is again a tech conference in Austin, Texas. It's coming up in about, I don't know, 2 weeks. Week and a half, 2 weeks. So I think the first thing is on the 5th. So yeah, it's right around the corner. All of these represent something going on one of the days. I've got it mapped out so you can see where it is right in relation to where you are. Put it on the calendar so as the days tick by, you can kind of see the things that are going on around you, and you want to jump to it, click on these guys and it'll get you that. I haven't updated. I got a notice Future Black House decided to cancel their event. I got to pull that one off, but I've got over 100 events currently on the map, and that'll be double by the end of the week. So it is at sxfreesw.com. sxfreesw.com. So if you are going to South by Southwest, but can't afford or don't want to pay the $1,000+ for the badge, there's still plenty of opportunities for you to get out, mix it up, meet some people, make some connections. And I put that in here. I have never used the chat here. Let's see. And if I go like that, what does that do? Oh, that's kind of cool. sxfreesw.com. So that's a little side project I'm doing. There's no ads on it. Not asking for any personal identifying information. I currently don't have anything to store the data. I probably, when I run out of time, will when I have a little bit more time, once I get all the data in there, I will probably add a way for you to favorite things and hide things that you don't care about. But I just want to get the basic functionality up and running, and then the data in. Then we'll do a little bit of polishing. I also have, for all of these guys, I have some keywords in there that then I'm going to put some filters on there too. So again, you can kind of filter for the things that you're interested in, filter out the things that you're not interested in. Still some work to do, but it's functional right now. It's got information in it, and it's shareable with your friends. So if you know anybody going to South by Southwest coming up, even if they got a badge, maybe their company has popped for a badge, but there's still a lot of the companies that show up do little extra free things that are outside. Sometimes if you do have a badge, they'll give you priority to get in, but they are free for everybody on a first come, first served basis. And the reason I'm starting to promote it is a lot of them ask for an RSVP, and they're starting to fill up. So click the link, click on the RSVP if it's something that's interesting to you, and get yourself on the list. And I'll be keeping an eye on that as it gets closer to just kind of filter it out. I think I might gray out the ones that are full and no longer accepting. You should probably still be there because you might be able to do a walk up. But there we go. That's a little side project I'm working on. I'm going to be plugging that every day until South by Southwest and through South by Southwest. I'm not sure what to do about the stream during South by Southwest. Usually I'm out pretty early because I got to get downtown, beat the traffic, kind of get a spot, hunker down, start to plan my day out during South by Southwest. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do the stream an hour earlier. Maybe I'll just wing it. But again, I'll have my app to help me figure out what interesting things are going on. And where's my LinkedIn at? LinkedIn's not on there. Yeah, South by Southwest EDU, if you're in the education space like I am, is coming up. It's the first thing that drops. So those are some of those first events are around South by Southwest EDU. So I'm on LinkedIn every day. If you have not connected with me, feel free to reach out and connect. It's also a good place to check some news, what's going on. Home Depot and sales slump. That's good. We just spent some money for some landscaping stuff for our house there. How companies spin U.S. job plans. That's interesting. Let's see what that's out. Theranos fraud convictions upheld. DoorDash to pay $17 million over a New York probe. Fired workers reinstated at the FDA. And there we go. Let's see what we got. American companies are rushing to unveil ambitious hiring in U.S. manufacturing plans in a bid to curry favor with the current president. Much of this investment, however, is likely just a shiny repackaging of existing plans. What's more, companies are free to announce the creation of new jobs. Apple, for instance, said it would just hire 20,000 U.S. research and developer workers before quietly eliminating positions as demand and strategic shift. So they're going to be hiring 20,000 people, but they're going to be laying off a whole bunch of other people. So they shout one of those two pieces of information, and they're quiet about the other one. Not shocking. Not shocking. Yep, not shocking. What else? What else? What else? That's about it. Nothing to NYC toll hits financial target. Okay, let's look at the let's look at the news. Technology news. Musicians going after AI. You know, the UK and Europe are going to be a lot more friendly to those kind of arguments. Google's Gemini's AI coding tool is now free for individual users. Man, I have not played with that Gemini tool, but I just started playing last night with 3.7, which dropped the Anthropic model. And just preliminary, just started building a new project, hadn't built, just completely from scratch. There's some complexity to it. About an hour, I had a thing up and running that I was willing to kind of show other people and get some feedback on. It still screwed up several times. I had to back up, and it wasn't some magic box where I say build me the thing and it builds it. I spec'd it all out, but I spec'd it all out, and then I asked, hey, is there any other additional information you need? And in the past, depending on the model, I'll ask that question and they'll just ignore that question. And it'll just barrel ahead and start writing code. But this one didn't. It had a half dozen questions that I answered, and then it had enough to get a good sort of first stab, and then it didn't do too much, which I like, because these things are not very good at recognizing when they're way off the rails. And so it did a little bit, and then it was like, take a look, see if it's what you were expecting. If not, let's make some tweaks before we move on to the next set of features. And that's how I like to iteratively develop software anyway, so it fits right into my workflow. And I gotta say, I was pretty impressed. It's not as zippy as some of the other models. It's using that thinking model to help, but I don't care about waiting 10 extra seconds or even 30 extra seconds for some code if that code functions. That's what we want to do. Google makes AI coding tool free. Google just made AI Assistant for free. They were trying to catch up. Huawei reportedly hits 40% yield, turns profitable. China's got a lot of problems in their country, but they're on top of what's going on in this tech world right now. More nonsense going on in the political world. The rise of artificial intelligence at J.P. Morgan. I mean, again, these terms are very fluid in terms of the way that they're talked about in the press, but it's not like JP Morgan hasn't been using machine learning models for decades now. Of course, they've been looking for an edge in their trading, and they got money to understand that, if it gives them a 2% better chance at picking the best stock at the right time, that could turn into billions of dollars for them. They've been heavy investors in machine learning in that space. But calling this artificial intelligence and how how they're adding these new models is just a continuation of that. The rise. DeepSeek. Those stories are starting to fade. We had an event on Friday at a local bar and invited current and past students to come out. And I was surprised. We had about 15, 16 people there, and just a bunch of nerdy tech talk mostly. But I was surprised how many people had said they downloaded the open source version of DeepSeek and got it working. Probably out of the 17 or 18 people there, I heard that I was talking to 3 of them that said they did. A lot of them were like, the government's going to make it illegal, so I wanted a copy before they did. But, that kind of FOMO's kind of silly. All these models are expanding so fast. It's not like, it's not like that model, the way it is right now, is going to be very worthwhile in a year. So, that's kind of being silly and hoarding stuff that not the last open source model. Google sued by Chegg over AI overviews hurting traffic and revenue. We all have been taking a hit here. Every business, the bootcamp business, has certainly gotten a hit from it. Their AI overviews push everything down below the fold. So, Google got in the business of driving traffic to websites. That was their whole business model. We do a better job at helping you find stuff out on the internet, and with the goal of leaving Google.com and going to the website. And that's one of the things that set them apart in the early days, where other websites were not wanting to relinquish the traffic. They were building all these other features on the website. Come to our search engine and stick around and stay here. And Google's like, no, that's not what people want. People want to find what they're looking for, and they want to leave. And so their interface was always very straightforward. One little text block, put it in there. Here's your 10 results. Don't like those, go to page 2. Another 10 results. Over time, that above the fold has gotten very crowded with ads, with other features. But you could still see 1 or 2 of the actual search results on the main page if you're on a desktop. Not anymore. Not with AI. That's pushed everything down below the fold. And so, if you're a company like ours that's been around for 10 years, we should have good SEO. We should be getting a lot of free traffic for people searching for the products that we offer. But, our traffic has been killed like a lot of small businesses. And it's hard to imagine they're not shooting themselves in the foot with this. Hard to imagine. NVIDIA's H20 chip orders jump as Chinese firm adopt DeepSeek's AI models. H20. Okay, so I guess it's the H100s are the latest chips, and then I guess the H20s are just older chips that they can sell to China. I know there's some restrictions about selling the latest server, server racks. Anthropic unveils advanced AI hybrid reasoning model. So this is what I was playing with last night. Claude 3.7 Sonic. I have not played with Claude Code. I think it's kind of dumb. Just from the videos that I saw of it in action, both from Claude and people reviewing it. We've got a better way to work now, and it's an IDE with an AI model built in. That is the way to write code now. That we just need to recognize that's the case. You might go to a regular chatbot to ask for a little syntax here or there, maybe, but copying and pasting big chunks of code from OpenAI and pasting it in other places and not having it have access to all your files and really see the scope of your project, like that's not a way to go anymore. That was a transitional way. That doesn't make any sense anymore. Now again, copying code in the opposite direction and asking for an explanation of what that code is, like that's a good use for ChatGPT. Again, learning, discovery, that's a good use for that. But I'm really, I've been pushing more code in the last 5 months than I did probably in the 5 years previous to that. Certainly the last year compared to the 5 years previous to that. I am churning out projects, churning them out, being very productive. MongoDB announces acquisition of Voyage AI to enable organizations. Sold for $220 million after launching less than 2 years ago. One of the devs I was talking to, I'm not a back-end person. I've created lots of back-ends in my career. I've created lots of databases in my career. I feel most comfortable with the MySQL, SQL-y ones, but I've done NoSQL databases, all kinds of stuff. But I don't like it. Never like it. I always put it off to the last minute. I always do kind of a half-hearted job of hacking it together. The data models, the APIs, and all that stuff. I just don't like it. It's not fun for me. And I was talking to somebody about that on Friday. And he was talking about how you absolutely, if you're not using AI to do your SQL-based queries and stuff, to come up with all that code, he's like, that is just a perfect model for an LLM because it's such a limited instruction set, and it's all very logical. There's not a whole lot of room for nuance. If I'm asking it to build a front end, a UI for an application, like there's a million variables in there in terms of colors and layout and design and buttons and all that stuff, and a lot. Even if you're very prescriptive about your goals, there's a lot of things it can make assumptions about that'll just be wrong because you can't do a prompt that's 50 pages long. But having said that, you don't need that complexity when it comes to moving information in and out of databases, searching, filtering, combination searches, pulling data together. And he was just talking about how it's so much nicer now to be writing all those SQL queries and pulling from multiple tables and resolving issues and all that stuff, which has always been very capable to be done with SQL, but a person like myself, I just don't want to wade in so deep. I don't want to be an expert in SQL. I want to be able to set up a database, set up some tables, throw some basic data in and out. That's about the level of complexity that I've been comfortable with before I go crazy. But oh, I didn't see the chat. Add me. Okay, somebody's got a. That feels like a spammy comment. 8:38. You still around? What's up? Okay. Yeah. So I may dig into one of the things I had for trouble in the last year. Like every time I try and start an application that does have a complex back end, AI just sort of falls down in helping with that. I really looked to lean on it in the past, but my initial experiments were not particularly good. It just didn't have the context. I haven't really tried it now that I'm using Cursor and having the ability to set up a more complex project. So, part of my orientation with how to utilize AI currently has been, let's test it with a really hard thing. Okay, that completely broke and didn't get anywhere. All right, well, maybe it's not time for that. Let me try a less complicated project. Hey, that worked pretty well. Okay, let me try and progressively get a little bit more complex, but I haven't gone back to that. Like, let's build a real hardcore complex stack application. I haven't really tried that, so I probably should put that on my list of things. But I'm having so much fun building these little small projects. CEO of Snowflake left Google to lead the $43 billion AI company. He says, interesting. Okay. Alibaba, we talked about that a little. We saw it yesterday. Teams are forming bonds with AI chatbots. That's been a story that's just going to continue to come. So far, my kids, I think, are maybe aging out of that. I have a kid who's a high school, senior in high school, and another kid in college, junior in college. And so they've mostly escaped that. And generally speaking, don't have a whole lot of positive opinions about AI right now because they are mostly hearing that it's a way to cheat in school and that it's stealing the livelihoods of artistic people that they like. People who draw and paint and create music. So they don't have a very positive association with AI right now. But they don't spend a lot of time writing in a professional setting where, there's no argument about cheating when your job is to get a bunch of emails out. If it can help you write better emails. So things will change. Meta expands AI chatbot to users in Africa and the Middle East. Intel trying to get back in the game. The future of workplace chat and more AI agents, fewer home humans. Need to attend a meeting, order groceries, book a flight. There's an AI agent for that. These are the things that kind of annoy me about these agents is they keep pitching it like for like the use cases they keep rolling out are for like young urban professionals. Order groceries, like most people don't do that. They just drive to the store and buy their groceries. Book a flight. Most people don't book flights regular enough to need an agent for that. Book a seat in a restaurant. Again, this is a you know, this is a 1% problem. So, like, come up with some use cases that average human beings could use, and then we'll start to talk. But that's not what's motivating these people. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could just have this thing constantly calling our favorite restaurant so we can get a spot? Okay, dude. Yeah, I'm sure you had fun at your frat house 2 years ago when you were in college. 6 ways agents can help you accomplish hours of work in minutes. There's definitely something there. I definitely need to spend some time with it, but I haven't had too much time to do that. Amazon teases big Alexa AI upgrade tomorrow. Every other day there's a new model dropping. Hard to stay on top of this stuff. RTX Raytheon demonstrates first ever AI ML powered radio warning receiver. New plug and play AI can protect pilots of non-stealth planes. Radar warning receiver for 4th generation. Okay, so I mean, the thing about those planes is they're moving so freaking fast. They could be in the middle of trouble. In the middle of trouble before you even know it, because they're moving so fast. So advanced warning systems, probably a good thing, probably. Especially because we've been having planes fall out of the sky lately. Did Elon Musk's AI tool Grok censor criticism of Trump? Yes, I think that's pretty clear from the articles and the news reporting that is the case. AI hallucinations in court. Papers spell trouble for lawyers. Yeah, we looked at a story about this last week. Supreme Court justice calls out lawyer for citing AI-generated phantom rulings. Lazy people gonna be lazy. Lazy people gonna be lazy. What do we got? Data centers. Travelers are lost in automated mazes. Here's how to reach a real person. Two AI stocks, 3 computing stocks, 2 quantum computing stocks. How to write the perfect AI prompt according to OpenAI President Greg Brockman. It's on Inc. magazine. It's probably not super cutting edge, but I might read that article and see. I become a ChatGPT expert by leveling up my AI prompts. Here are my 8 top tips. A year ago, everybody was like, prompt engineer is going to be a job. That's going to be a job. Engineering prompts. Like, come on. I didn't believe that then. On its face, it seemed silly. New Energy Secretary visits New Mexico. Paris AI Summit. The AI race is on the wrong track. Here's how to fix it. Good luck with that. It is on a track, which they believe, the people who are giving lots of money to fund it, it's going to lead to a big payday at the end. Hard to break that if they're convinced. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. don't know very much about stocks, but I know not to pay attention to Kathy Wood. I don't know why people are writing her name a lot. Celebrating scientific breakthroughs as an AI co-scientist. That's what I want to see. I want these AIs to solve problems like cracking the superbug problem in 2 days. I want to live forever. And I think there's a non-zero path. We're on the way there. Just got to live long enough until I can live forever. That's the plan. Cognitive decline tracked by new AI tool. Dementia breakthrough science can now measure the brain's true biological age. First of its kind AI model uses brain scans to reveal a link between aging and cognitive decline. Well, that's good. Want to know that. Share your experience using personified artificial intelligence chatbots. I have not really done any of that. I haven't played around with any of that stuff. It's not interesting to me at all. I was reading articles yesterday about the idea of like AI therapists, AI therapists. And again, there are people who don't feel comfortable saying things to another human being that maybe they might feel comfortable saying to a machine. But where's that machine living? How is that, secret that you're divulging being transmitted across the internet? I spent 10 years in therapy in my 20s and into 30s, and I was in a men's group for a while, and one of the men was like, the only reason I go to therapy is I know that if the person says something that I tell him in confidence that I can ruin his career and put him out of business. I can sue him into losing his career. I was like, well, it's, you got some trust issues. One of the things you might be talking about there is just some trust issues that you have. But completely understandable, I suppose, depending on what those secrets are. Don't tell them you killed somebody. They do have to report that. But yeah, so, I mean, there might be a place for this. But again, I personally wouldn't trust it unless I was running that model locally. And even then, like, is it waiting until 3 a.m. and then sending some packets off somewhere? Like, I don't know. It's one thing to be paranoid. It's another thing to just be walking into a situation with your eyes open. Phones, don't care about phones. I pulled out some articles about this agentic browser feature, but I didn't have time to play with it. I wanted to play with it yesterday, but I didn't get around to it. I need to watch some videos. I think I just need to watch some YouTube videos of kind of things people are doing with it to give me a sense of like, oh, that's helpful to me or not. What else have we got? Oh, we're running down to the end of it. Artificial intelligence for modeling infectious disease epidemics. That's what we want to see. We want to see that stuff. Simulations. Billions of simulations to help us understand. That was one of the things I wanted to do during the pandemic. Actually, it might be interesting to play around with that. Feed in all the data of cases from... I'm sure somebody's done this, but I haven't seen it in this way. Feed all the data that we collected on COVID, which is all kind of open source and out there, about who was getting, positive tests when, and map out the spread of it to see who was the last county that got a confirmed case. And to understand, like, what's the balance in there. Like, yeah, I mean, you could go live in a off the grid house in the middle of Arizona and see 4 people a year and not have a whole lot of risk of picking up an epidemic. But most people aren't willing to do that, right? But if you found if there was a slider that you could put your tolerance for risk in there, and then see as that tree-like structure sort of spreads, probably starting in New York City and San Francisco, a lot of these, Seattle, where there's international travel and stuff. It's probably started on the West Coast just because that's where closer to China. And then watch it sort of spread over time and get a sense of, like, all of these counties start going, out of the offline or whatever in terms of their reaching a tipping point, and then kind of see where you're left. Obviously, the smaller counties with less people are going to be the last ones in there, but kind of what's the balance, because you'd want to be, it's weird, like when you think about pandemics, you want to be close to a hospital, but of course, the closer you are to a hospital in a pandemic, are you going there for treatment, or you going there because you're a little sick and then you pick up stuff because that's where all the sick people go? It's interesting. Probably better to just stay out of the fray. Stay out of the fray. All right, we're getting down to it. A couple of minutes left. Let's just, for anybody who's joined late, recap. My name is Keith Gonzalez. I'm a professional developer and have been for over 30 years, and I created the stream. It's a place to hang out while you're in the job search, getting out those job applications. If you know anybody who's out of work, recently laid off, looking for an accountability buddy, somebody to kind of hang out while they're getting those job applications out, please share the stream. We stream every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time from Austin, Texas, where I have resided since the 80s. Since the 1980s, I've been in Austin, Texas. So give me a share, give me a follow, give me a thing if I can be useful to you. And otherwise, we will see you in 23 hours for the next daily stream. And I'm looking forward to it. Have a great day. Having some great weather in Austin, Texas. I'm going to get out and see the sun.